The idea is you get out of North Bennett Street, you start your journey, you become a journeyman.
That's the idea.
Okay, let's stay high level. Okay, you're getting into too much detail.
Okay.
What changed? Why are you back?
He just kept begging me to come back, and like, dude, all right.
We would like to thank the sponsor of our show, Rockwool. Rockwool helps improve your quality of life, from thermal comfort, regardless of the climate zone, to quiet spaces for privacy and well-being, to peace of mind, knowing that the home is built with the goal of fire safety.
We use Rockwell in our jobs, and insulation helps drive all of those goals. Material selection is just as important as assembly design for both exterior and interior applications.
Stone wool insulation solutions from Rockwool are a good investment because they are long-lasting, durable, and resilient. They will continue to perform for generations, at least 65 years, and probably longer.
Safe and sound for interior walls, floors, and ceilings, and comfort board and comfort bat for exterior applications. Rockwool is the product for you. Thank you again to Rockwool for being a sponsor for this episode. Welcome back to the Passion for Craft podcast. Welcome to Salem, Massachusetts. Kid in a candy store for Brent and Richard. Myself as well. This is like the coolest city in America that I've been to offhand, I think. That's a broad sweeping statement, but it's really cool. So we're in a place in Salem called the McIntyre District. Just to give a little background history on Salem, this was the wealthiest city in America at one time because it's a major shipping port. This is like very close to the ocean, has a bunch of houses on the ocean. We're on sort of the inland part of it, and we're on the McIntyre District, where a lot of these houses were
Named
built.
after Samuel McIntyre, who was a master builder here and who did that building right there. He's one of my building heroes. Like when we do the master, apprentice, and journeyman thing,
Yep.
Samuel McIntyre, William Buckland, they're the model for master builder, what they knew, what's going on. So, yeah.
Anyway, welcome. We're going to look around.
So we're going to just walk up this street, okay? We're going to see Greek Revival, we're going to see Federal, we're going to see Georgian, okay? And we're going to be looking at the differences. In fact, you know, this is a great Federal entrance here. And look, I get asked by our clients saying, hey, build us a front entry. And so when I quote a front entry, I'm oftentimes looking at something like this going, okay, well, if we do the little turn columns with the fluting, and we do the thing, we do the leaded glass, if you want this door and this opening, it's a $30,000 opening. People are like, I don't want to pay $30,000. Well, that's what I'm quoting, okay? And so this is where looking to the past and figuring out how things should look and what's thing. I mean, they got a drip edge in there. They've got amazing leaded glass with the little stars and emblems on the leaded glass.
Yeah, what's the deal with those?
Well, they're a decorative thing. They would have been made in lead. They would have been poured into a mold. They would have been carved, right? And so they end up being these decorative little add-on. There's some of them missing in this thing. There's wavy glass in there. There's dentals in there. I mean, there's engaged pilasters. Anyway, it's a complex opening. It's not just door side light.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of great details in there. And if you want a beautiful entry, sometimes you have to pay more.
So selfish question here, because we're doing we're restoring a house that's down in Rockland, Massachusetts right now. We're working on it. It had this really cool theming behind all of it, where they had all the details replicated throughout different things. So Ryan and I are working on the column. We've got these details that we're seeing in the column, this dogwood flower, and that dogwood flower is repeated in the leaded glass. First I thought this was the same flower. It's actually totally a different one. But is that a common thing, like
so
seeing that throughout the house?
So you can see in historic catalogs, flyers that would have come out from companies that made these, they would have had decorative details that were common. Dogwood flower, whatever the thing is, a daisy or whatever the thing is. So yes, there were common elements that would have been copied over and over again. I don't know exactly what this one is.
Would that have necessarily been like a sign of a craftsman, like, oh, this is my signature thing that I do, or is it just they exist,
well, like,
you have a mold?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe sometimes, not always. And you're going from a period of handcrafting to industrialization. By the time 1860, 1870, it's all mass produced, right? Because it's industrialized. You go back before that time, you'll get more handcrafted, unique things that could have regional,
like a signature.
Yeah, and that was really popular in Salem. That was popular in Boston. It's just like with furniture, you have the ball and claw foot. That would be the New York ball and claw and the Philadelphia ball and claw and the Boston ball and claw. They were all different. The regionalism that happens, and that happens in a handcrafted era, not in an industrialized era.
So that stops right around the 1830s?
Stops with 1850, after Civil War especially, but probably 1840, 1850.
All right, this is a dumb question, and I'll take the L for not knowing it. When did the Civil War end?
Good question. When did the Civil War end?
I don't know, because a lot of people reference that being an important time.
Wait. Pause. When did the Civil War end?
Yeah.
Wow. You know? You know?
1867?
1865.
Okay.
So,
But you're his filmer. You know all this.
Yeah, you're not fair.
okay, so here's the other fun thing. And this is a funky thing because that 5-panel raised panel door is not a federal door, and we're going to see better federal doors. And there's also detail in this thing with 2/2 windows. This thing's throwing me off. I'm not sure what's going on. It's been jacked around a bunch. But we're going to see, as we go along in here, Georgian, Greek Revival, and Federal. And this is one reason why I love this street is because we see all of them. But like that's a transition. I would say that that's a transitional house, okay? Because the headers over top of the window are Federal, but that doorway and that entry is totally Georgian, okay? Now, why do I say that?
It's heavy.
Well, it's heavy, right? Those columns are huge, right? Remember those columns on those other houses we were looking at? That Corinthian columns are about 6 or 8 inches. That one's 10 or 12. These are big. Now the problem with this is Victorian because that whole column thing is called the Tower of the Winds.
This is 1805.
This is Victorian.
This house is 1805.
Oh, the entry. Okay.
That entry. Thank you. That's good. But that entry is a much later entry. That's not a federal entry. That's a Victorian add-on, right? And so the scale, right? The scale of that's not federal, right? None of the details are. So again, we're seeing all these funky looking different things, but the most typical entry is like this federal door here with the fan light, right? When you see the leaded glass, when you see the fan light, and you'll see some of these doors have like a 3-part door size. Look at the small columns, look at the entablature, how it shrinks, right? Are you getting in? I'm trying to explain because you're always asking, and I'm like, right? These are all really subtle things, and we're seeing, it's hard too because we're seeing things like they added that door later.
Yeah.
And you're seeing a mix of Victorian, Federal, Georgian, all these different things happening. Now, because Salem really blew up after and during the American Revolution, so what is that, 1780, 1776, 1781 it ends, right? That block on the things, Salem's really growing. So so it's not necessarily we're going to see a lot of Georgian houses, but we're seeing a mix of all these things because the Americans are interpreting this stuff. We walked right past that door, but the Americans are interpreting things. But just the scale of these openings are all changing and are all moving. And there's never, almost never, this perfect federal, this is the federal house because they're all influenced by different things.
Right.
If they're influenced by things from England, if they're influenced by, they might be more sophisticated or less sophisticated. So you're going to see all this different stuff. All right, we're gonna do this, but we got to critique this work here.
We crossed the street.
Yeah, is that poplar? That's not gonna last.
That's pine, isn't it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, this is pine for sure.
That does not look like eastern white pine.
It is. It's just very not tight grown.
When did you do this,
This
Jackson?
looks like a piece of this looks like a piece of fir. I just wonder how long this is gonna last. They got a split in that thing already, the way they put that around there.
Well, and it's sapwood here.
I just don't know if that's going to last very well. Oh, look at this is an old 2x4. So, sorry,
has been
I got
going.
distracted.
Well, one of the things,
Well, and this is pre.
pro tip,
yeah.
you want
Pre-primed.
to prime all sides of everything before you put anything in. And it looks like
that
nothing's
PVC?
been primed.
No, it's just pre-primed wood. It's like the super cheap pre-prime layer.
That's PVC.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Why are we looking at this when we have all of this? Let's get out of here.
Well, I'm looking at a repair on a great historic house, and I'm like, uh-oh.
You just took me back to Texas.
Ruh-roh. Okay, so I was just explaining on my Instagram story how these things change and these things that are confusing. But look how dainty and light this ironwork is. Look how soft and tight these are. Look at the door. It has no raised panels. Remember, we were just looking at that other door, at raised panels. I go, this is kind of confusing. I don't know whether that kind of breakout in the glass was something that was cheaper than leaded glass. I'd be curious to know at the time. But I mean, there's a fantastic Federal house with a Federal entry. Look how small the architrave is. Just that little thin thing, but I mean, a beautiful surround there.
It has a gutte, right, with no triglyph, or is that something else?
That's exactly what that is.
The gutte is the little like motif under the triglyph.
Yeah,
They're like little
nails
gutter
that
looking
were
things.
thought to tie in the pieces together. So you'd have a triglyph coming in at Guttae.
Cool.
And
They're the little circles that you can see when you're looking up, right?
Yes.
no. That's the bottom of a mutual that you're
Oh,
seeing
okay.
there.
Okay.
I thought those were also gutte.
I thought that was the bottom of Gutte.
I don't think so.
Well, we can go look.
Yeah, someone might know. Here's another Greek Revival one here, right? So you're seeing this town kind of evolve and happen. But I mean, the other thing I would say is, like, if you're looking for inspiration for how to do a fan light over your window, right?
Look no further.
Right. I mean, just like, this is why you look to the past, because these details are so awesome.
The landscape
this is a
too.
really cool one coming up.
I love this Greek Revival across the street with the Greek Doric columns that go down with a no base, and just how low that pitch is on that pediment.
Yeah, that's
Can you
very
talk about that?
scaled
Like
down.
the different sizing and shapes and lift of pediments, because
Yeah, so
you know,
the Greeks, the ideal for the Greek was like either 12 and a half or 22 and a half. I can't remember. I have to look back. But it's low.
22.
Is it 22 or is it
Well,
12?
I thought the ideal pediment was 22 and a half because it was 45 cut in half.
So the Greek would look. You look at the Parthenon and
Yeah.
you look at it, you look at the pitch and how those things were put together, and that became the ideal. And so there was a Roman Doric, right? And it has a base that
Yeah.
it sits on. The Greek Doric actually has no base, and I think it just looks handsome. I think it could be very modern. I think that's something that could fit on a very modern house if you wanted. And so, anyway,
Would you keep the fluting?
I would.
Yeah.
I think it's stronger without it. It's maybe more modern without
That's
it.
why I was thinking modern.
Beautiful doorway. Look at between the skylight and the door, that column there.
Like you're talking about how the pilasters have the same play, just in different proportions from one to the other.
Yeah, and just how
Even
again, I
up.
keep
Look at
saying
that.
how light it is,
The
but
theme keeps going.
I guess I'm sitting there going, do you guys see that? I'm saying these words, but I don't know if it's like, if you're looking at it going, yeah, still don't see
I'm
it.
going,
I don't
sir,
see
this
it.
is a Wendy's. Just kidding. No, I'm picking it up. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I've
here's the
definitely
deal,
seen it.
and you're practicing your eye, right? Your eye is kind of learning how to see this and go, oh, I see. Okay, yeah, I can kind of see that. And then you're going to see it again. You're going to go, oh, that's what he was talking about. But this is where you're training your eye, and it's practicing seeing these elements and these details. It is not something that happens overnight. That's just everybody gets, and you're an idiot if you can't see it.
Well,
That
one
is
of the
how
things.
it feels. Just to be clear.
Oh, yeah.
The
Yeah, when you're first starting out, you're
Yes.
like, you just like how you started on the first podcast. It was
gosh.
like, yeah, just kind of.
everyone says, "Oh yeah, the soffit." Everyone, and you're like,
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that word before." And then when you're in it, you're like, well, you've got to deal with the soffit all the time. You deal with fish. You deal with, all these words that you. Gutte, new one today.
Yeah, right.
But one of the things about this walk that's crazy is like, it doesn't matter where you look on this street, your like senses are like overloaded with architectural detail.
Yeah.
And
So I'm curious on this house. If you look at that, whatever that window is over top, that crazy Palladian window, that was the same detail that was on that other house.
Yeah.
And whether they found that detail and they copied it because everybody saw it and was so impressed by it. I've seen it at a few places. That's here.
is that the gouge thing, like where it's cut out in the arch? Is that what you're talking about? It's
Yeah.
like, it looks like a giant gouge cut.
It does it's almost fluted the way it's done.
But it looks like feathers,
I can see that.
Yeah.
like how they're like laid over each other like plumage.
And it's interesting to me too, the Greek key that's happening over top on these lentils, these stone lentils over the windows, whether that's, if it's getting late enough, I don't know when this building was built, but if it's getting late enough that you'd have an early Greek influence. Remember, Stewart and Revett go to study the Greek buildings in the late 1700s, 1760s, 1780. So it's not it wouldn't be impossible for them to have a Greek key influence early in the Federal period. But anyway, we'll just.
So the other thing is kind of fun here, like those two columns were completely different. The one on that house, the one on this house, but they had the same interplay between the different stories, where you've got, the columns playing against the pilasters, playing against the pilasters up top, all at different proportions, all at different scales, all Corinthian, all equally carved to the nines. You got to think that's some of McIntyre really pushing the other builders in the area to their limits. And
You got to wonder what was going on. Is that a sign of wealth? Is that just that Salem had a bunch of wealth and that's what you do when you have money?
Well, my immediate mind goes to, there must have been a bunch of molds. There must have been a bunch, that different people were using. But I don't know if you have a mold for a big one, a small one, that had to be carved,
Well, probably in 1805 there wasn't a mold.
Right.
Unless it was a plaster mold.
Yeah, like a compo, is that what it's called?
Well, compo is really for interior wood stuff. But I mean, plaster or some kind of cementitious thing.
Anyway.
Yeah, I feel like what you said though about McIntyre kind of
Raising
inspiring people. Like this is where you would have to be on your game here. If you're building,
you're a builder
you
in this
better.
area.
You're gonna make a fool out of yourself if you don't know what you're doing.
And you see these the columns. Those are with the fence posts and everything. Those are the same things we saw. That's why I was like,
Federal.
Yeah. Right. And then you're right. It was a Georgian house, and yet did they see this and go, oh, I need to upgrade my house? Because remember, if your house is built in 1760. And here it is, 1810. Your house is 50 years old. You're wanting to update your house. You're wanting to look, like you got it going on. And if this house comes along and it's a very wealthy house, well, we're going to have that same kind of detail because that is a very similar detail.
That's a cool house right there,
I
even
was gonna
too.
say, we should cross the street.
So the deal is that's a Victorian house, copying the Federal stuff.
Okay.
And so that is not a.
Wait. What makes you say it?
Because I know it, because I researched it. Because I looked at all the details before. I've been here 5 or 6 times. So I looked at all the details and goes, who built that house?
Yeah.
And then I looked it up and it's like 1870 or something. And so that's how they were able to copy those details. Yeah.
It's crazy when they have the
gross.
pilaster go from like floor to roof,
Yeah.
Or, like you see that. You don't see it often, but you see it some of the times. Like that one where you built that tavern, that house has something like that.
Yeah, that's true.
That chimney has the corbelling going on as well.
Yeah, I'm wondering too whether that was a 2-story house that they added a 3rd story to.
Oh, that's a thought.
Graduated fenestration, right?
Yeah.
Well, I thought I guess it's not like a solid rule, but I thought it was like bigger, medium, smaller. But I'm seeing here like big, small.
Yeah, and it's not. Like you see it, but it's not something that would, like on that house right there, the only difference between the 1st and 2nd floor windows is the trim over top of the windows. And so they've exaggerated the look on the just by the way they've treated that. And so I think it works, and the reason they did it is because it's stronger at the base as it lifts up. So it was a trick that worked. But you didn't have to have big windows on the bottom. You didn't have to, but anyway. 1821, the Phillips House Museum. This is a really special house. I've walked by this a number of times, always been blown away by the fence posts with the finials and the urns. I can't imagine doing that for a client today. Now, there's a couple of books I highlighted in a story or a post, I can't remember what. There were a guy named Peter Harrison did these books on brickwork and on fences, okay? And so he basically has chronicled these historic fences and details, some of them like this. The fence building industry needs to know that they could raise their game a little bit and that there is opportunity to build and do some pretty crazy stuff.
So one of the fun details that we talked about is the skived clapboards that you see here. This house has them as well. And then it has the rusticated coining on the side of the house, which is really cool because they're obviously imitating stone, but they weren't quite rich enough at that threshold to have full
Well,
stone.
so many historic houses did that.
Yeah.
I mean, Mount Vernon did it.
Totally.
Peters, Harris,
I mean, I guess I'm just saying.
No. It's
It's
a great
a
point.
detail.
I love the window headers. Okay, so basically you've got the architrave that goes around the window, right? Supports the opening. You've got a fluted frieze. Okay, so that's what that banding in the frieze goes. And then you got a really unusual cornice. Okay, with that Gothic, bed mold dental looking thing. You've got a mutual basically that comes out in that soffit. I mean, that is a really complicated
Yeah, for every window too.
for every window,
Except
right?
the tops, yeah.
And it's all made by hand, right? And so,
Well, and at the tops, they've got the large version
Yeah,
of it, which is
the
just
actual.
soffit.
yeah, true. The entablature over top here, you again see that gutte without the triglyphs coming out. okay?
That's so like peculiar to me.
It's kind of a cool way to do it because it's not as heavy. If you brought the triglyphs out and you can see some of the, it looks like a more strong entablature. It weakens it, but it still plays with the classical order. And then you got the mutuals with the. Guys were thinking that those are gutte too.
Yeah,
now I'm
I
sitting
just-
there going, maybe it is. I can't remember. There's a classicist watching who will actually know what that term is. But anyway, it could be.
It does look like it,
Notice
yeah.
on almost every house we've seen, all these great porches, okay, they all have a pilaster or a 3/4 column engaged in the wall against the house. That's something that people don't do anymore. They just put the columns out front. But look how it ties it back to the house and it strengthens it visually to have that pilaster supporting that beam as it runs back to the house. I think it's a real important detail that makes it look better.
Yeah, when you see it without it, it looks like it's
just-
unsupported.
It's unsupported.
Yeah, it looks weak. It looks
Yeah,
like
it
chicken
does.
legs, right?
Yeah.
Now,
So
one of the fun details Ryan was talking about was these little flowers that we've got here are like a sign for wealth that they would do. It was like a Chinese sign of wealth symbol. So you actually see that flower design on a lot of these houses.
well, and in this federal period, you start to see that corner block. Okay,
Yeah.
that becomes really popular in the Victorian period. You'll also see it in the Greek Revival period. This house is 1821, so it's kind of transitioning towards that Greek Revival. The first Greek Revival building is the Second Bank of Philadelphia. I think it's also 1820. So there could be some Greek influence going on here too.
You ever see that rosette thing in the frieze like often?
Yeah, it's called a rondelle. And,
A rondelle?
It's just kind of a round panel. But yes, it's you see it in classical architecture.
I almost feel like it could have gone like above each gutte, Like,
I kind of like it on the corners, kind of defining the corners. but,
yeah.
We're going to be working on a couple of rondelles for the John Hancock door. And so like the front facade and everything of the John Hancock house. And he has a couple of rondelles. And I want to say there's more than one kind of spanning his gap. But
Yeah.
that
It's
is a
interesting to me
important piece.
that the light in 1821 was something that looks like it came from Home Depot.
Yeah, I think I
that-
have that same
yeah,
light.
Isn't that interesting?
That's original.
Yeah, so Home Depot really has some historic
Yep.
precedent.
No, they really do. They knew what they were doing,
I looked at this door and I said, oh, look, there's a Greek Revival door. And because of two long panels. That hardware is Colonial Revival. That's not Greek Revival. And so then I'm sitting there going, but look at the fan light, okay? And the fan light and
Very
even
federal.
even the entablature isn't necessarily strongly federal. But then I looked at the windows and I go triple hung windows and I was like, look how tall they are.
Triple hung windows being
Georgian?
Greek Revival.
Greek Revival.
Sorry.
So you're jumping
didn't-
pages. I'm just making sure you're defining what
Well,
each
and then I
one's
saw
meaning.
the plaque, 1845. So this is a Greek Revival house. And then you look at the fan light and the surround. You're going, well, that's not Greek Revival. And so there is something that's clearly not Greek Revival, except for the door. But it was built at that time. So again, I was saying earlier how you kind of got to train your eye and figure things out. And you're picking little parts and pieces to go, well, that's that doesn't make sense. And so, right? And so it's hard.
That really large entablature there is Greek Revival, right?
Yeah, no, it's a heavier entablature
Yeah.
for sure.
If you had to pick one, what would you say? Greek Revival?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
lines
What's
up
the
with
cheat?
date
What's
when
the
you see-
cheat code for that? Just colonial. If you don't know, it's just like
Yeah,
You could say
Victorian.
Colonial Revival.
colonial revival.
And so what happens in the Colonial Revival period, especially in the late 1800s and early 1900s, is you see a mix of Georgian, Federal, and Greek Revival all happening together. And so you can say that's colonial revival because it is.
Yeah, it's like
right?
the answer to give when you don't know. Colonial revival.
It's like Victorian. You've got the large, broad safety net of Victorian for
Yeah.
anything past 1840s, 50s.
So this is 1858, and so
Really cool rustication.
and now
Ooh,
you've got
yeah.
the columns going to piers, right? And so these are square columns called piers. They're chamfered edge things. You've got that kind of oriel bay window going on there, the arch lights, and so clearly the brackets. Right now you're looking at a Victorian house, but you know it's hard to see. What are you looking at?
Maybe a little Italianate. I'm seeing dual brackets and I'm seeing curved windows on the second floor.
1858, sure. I mean, there's no arch windows except in the top piece.
Which is where our instructor told us they would be for an Italian.
Jackson, what I want you to do is not
Ignore
listen-
everything your
exactly,
professors say.
exactly.
Yeah.
So then you'll be right. I love this porch with the double hung windows on an open porch.
I love the
Isn't that cool?
mansard roof here. It's hard to see this close up, but there's a really pretty mansard roof on this house.
And then this last house here, I'm pretty sure, as I remember, is Georgian, is an older house, I think. But I remember this entry and this, yeah, there's 1870. So, yeah, I mean, if you just walk down the street and just study these buildings, I mean, you're going to learn a lot about how these things are put together and be able to study a bunch of different styles.
Look at the rustication on this house. Look how new that looks.
That looks fresh.
It looks really
look fresh.
fresh. Looks really nice.
That's actually not even that hard to do. Like you just bevel the corners. Like
Yeah, but if you're technically like traditionally doing it, you would get a sand mixture with your paint and you would hit the side of your board with it to where it falls through that and kind of sand sticks to it.
I would
to give
just
that
route
rock
it.
Look.
So I just, look at this, 1909.
Yeah, 1870, 1909. These last two were.
you know what's interesting about that like detail above the jack, is that called a jack arch? Where the
Uh-huh.
bricks do
Yeah,
that?
the brick arch.
What,
Jack arch.
is that supposed to be like a crown or something?
Well,
or?
it's a belt course. This is like a really well done colonial revival house. Speaking of colonial revival, all right, 1909. Look at that Georgian entry, big, heavy, strong. You see the tri-lifts,
Dude.
you see the goutte, the brick jack arches, the belt course right there. Like Drayton Hall has that kind of belt course that kind of sticks out. I think it's kind of a drip edge kind
Okay.
of piece. So, I mean, look at the coursing of the brick. I mean, you've got this Flemish bond and.
It is pretty thick though.
Yeah, and you've got a molded brick course. So this is all 1909,
So just
right?
to define terms, the Flemish bond is where there's not a tying course on the brick. It actually is tied along the whole course of the building, right?
Flemish bond is where you got an alternating header and runner.
Right.
And so they're locking it together. Is that what you're
It's
saying?
Yeah,
thick,
I'm
right?
saying there's not.
It's like as thick as the brick, or as like the wall is as wide as the brick is long, because it's going
may
like
be a
this and
couple
then
more.
like this.
It may be more than that. It may be deeper backset than that.
Okay.
Typically, on a solid masonry wall, it's 3 widths.
Three
okay?
wide is what it's called. I'm
It's-
serious. Back me up.
So you end up with, right, so this bonding of this header brick, okay, would go in
Yeah, in right.
to the first wall, okay, or to the middle wall, and then the other side would be tying it together, okay? I don't know if this is a solid masonry
Is it like
wall.
Jenga?
That's why.
Well, traditional masonry walls will have like the regular orientation of the brick, and then every couple of courses they'll have like a tying course that goes into the next one, right?
Well, the English bond is that way.
Yeah.
The English bond is all these runners,
Right.
and then you'll have a whole thing of headers. The Flemish bond is you alternate the bricks,
Yeah.
bonding it together.
That's one of the. We'll see the English style done on King's Chapel and done on the Old North Church. But so this Flemish bond, it doesn't have a tying course. It's tied along the way.
There's so many impressive things they've done here. I mean, look at the brick dental at the top.
I think this is my favorite house I've seen
So are
so
they-
far.
I
Like,
mean, the scale
which is
of it
saying a lot.
wonderful. I mean, this is a special house.
Look
Are
how
they
pitched
shading?
that stool is.
I
So,
know.
that's a really steep pitch right there.
You know what's funny, Richard? You came all the way to Massachusetts to see some of the oldest houses in America, and you like the
one.
1909.
I don't know. I just have a bias, I guess. I need to see more.
Oh, look at that!
So this is why I call it
That door looks
this
way
Georgian
older.
thing. Look at the raised panels, right? The
Whoa,
bullseye glass.
That glass?
Yeah,
Is
the
that's
bullseye
what it's
glass,
called?
Yeah.
Because
The,
that's where they took the pentel wherever they blow the blown glass and then cut it
What?
and spin it, that's where the thing is stuck to. That's where they're blowing the glass.
And that's like, they want that. Like, that's
No, that was a waste
It was a
piece.
waste piece.
Oh.
But in this reproduction of this door, it's a desired piece because that's how they would have done it back in the day. Because they
Funny
wanted
how that
the light
works.
in, yeah.
But the rustication around that the column's sitting on top of, very classical. The weight of this thing is very Georgian. And so, I mean, I really love this house too.
Very thick, very heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, those columns are fat.
Yeah.
I do like, this is something that I've seen a lot. I don't really know what it is, but they've got like the pointed tops and then the rounded tops.
Oh, that's like the White House does that, right?
Yeah.
With the windows.
What is
Yeah,
with
that's
that?
a
That's a
great deal.
colonial revival thing.
Well, they did it. No, it's not a colonial revival thing. It's a classical thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because and what they would do is when you had those big buildings and there was 20 windows across the thing,
Yeah.
it would get monotonous and it would break up that monotony to have the alternating type of pediment across there.
Do you want to keep going?
Yeah, I'm
Look at
kinda-
these.
I'm kinda trying to think.
There's just a ton of houses here. Let's just keep looking.
1882.
So
okay.
1882, right? This is almost like a Carpenter Gothic or some kind of Swiss chalet.
Do you say
looking
that
thing.
because of the little like fake covers with the little?
Well, it's all wood,
Cutting
and you have the Second Empire roof, but all that scrolling and all that stuff in there.
Yeah, what's that called? What's it called when it's on like a fascia board?
Oh, barge board.
Barge board. That's
Yeah.
what it's called.
So it's just highly decorative, kind of a crazy. This is a house we don't see in Texas because in 1882 we're still a frontier, but in Boston or in Salem we're looking at something that's just
More civilized.
yeah, and it's great. I mean, I love it.
So this is kind of like the McFarland house in a way. Like that's probably the closest thing we've got to something like this, right?
So 1882, McFarland's 1895.
I feel like that
it's
side
Queen Anne.
circle element is.
So the Queen Anne thing is you get the turret, and that's
Yeah.
really part of that Queen Anne look. But yeah, I mean, this is just so different from everything. Even the way they banded it, and they've got the siding, kind of that kind of shiplap siding, and then you got these bands with the horizontal.
Almost like a wainscot on the outside of a house.
It's interesting, right? And it is at the pedestal height, and so it is kind of a grounding piece. And so
Very organized for what
I
it
like
is
it.
too.
It kind of repeats itself too.
yeah.
And look at that, they've got them going diagonal
Got
on
them
the
going
top.
diagonal in the eave, which would be your entablature, right? So anyway, they're still playing around. They did the same thing here where your bracketed entablature going around that house.
Are you saying on that one?
Yeah, and so you're still, have classical elements told in a very ornamented way. But I think we're going to see just a bunch of Victorians as we go down here, and look at this.
It's
You've
interesting that
you
the-
got 4-inch siding, you got rusticated brick corning, and you got rustication on the front, all in wood,
Yeah, wow.
right? You got a lot of details.
Dang, look
coming
at that
together.
granite base or whatever that is.
Yeah. So what's a detail that's really hard for us to do today is when we build a wall, okay,
By you mean like at whole or just in general?
at Hall and in general, okay.
Good question.
If you wanted to do this detail today, okay, realize that the only way to do it is you've got your framed wall going all the way up, okay. Then you're putting your stone out on the face of it. And so if you're going to put siding onto to try to even it out, you have to build your wall out so you can get to that point. Or like what they did here, they've got that stone I suspect is this big, and
Yeah.
they're building their wall right on top of it. They're able to kick their face of the siding
table.
right out to the face of the stone. That's a hard detail for us to build today because we don't build solid masonry anymore. With our framing methods and everything's a veneer, it's hard to get that. We're about to do that on a house, and I was saying if we're doing that, we've got to kick it out because I need it to look like this.
You want the little step back.
On a step back, and one of our projects, the ranch project, that we had to create this big sill, which isn't historic,
on the stone.
because our wall was log cabin. So I couldn't fake the log cabin to kick it out over top of it unless we had a solid masonry thing on top of
The
it.
other ranch.
Yes. So we would have had to change the way we build that thing
Ah.
in order to get it right.
Huh.
So There's a detail that you see historically that's hard to copy today.
So is that just because of a lack of planning or a lack of money to get the granite, or what's the
I think planning.
problem?
It's planning, because what you have to do is you have to build your foundation beam wall, then you have to build your solid masonry piece that fits onto it, then you have to get the engineers to sign off, and you lock in your wood framed wall back down into the foundation. How do you tie them all together, right?
Because they want them all tied together.
They want them all tied together. You can't let it kind of flip around. So it's planning and practice and like, okay, how are we going to make this detail work?
Is that because there used to be a master builder and now there's not anymore, or there's too many pots and cooks in the kitchen?
Yeah, I mean, this is an example of the lost art of building, right? This is an example of that we don't know how to do that anymore. And you have to reinvent it. Like, that's what we're doing. We're reinventing how we were going to build it so that it matches that.
Feels like you're jumping through more hoops than anything.
Well, this is one of those ones where you say you fight for stuff, because that's where people are going to be like, well, you don't need that little step, but you're like,
100%.
I have to have this
100%.
step back.
That's exactly right. And so then you have to get your client to buy in.
Yeah.
Say, it is a real important detail that we get right if you want this, right? A lot of times we have great clients, and so they're like, yeah, let's go for that. I'd like to get that detail. If you don't have a client that's going to help you fight, then it can be a losing battle.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's super expensive, but it is planning, it is engineering. Maybe that detail to get it built right is an extra 20 grand, you know, 30 grand. Is that worth it? You know,
yeah, because you're going to have this band that's like structurally supporting everything.
Right.
Cool.
It's communicating.
I would never even have thought of that if you never said this.
Yeah. I don't think we do this enough, where you got a brick wall and then tie it into wood. In the South, that end wall that's brick and then the siding, I think it's a great detail.
Almost looks like a coining from the front, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know it's not alternating like the coining, but
no, yeah, it's very similar. But basically, you've got, you know, this masonry pedimented end that's going up, and then your timber framing inside there, kind of locking it together. And so,
all right, I finally found a plank frame window. These are plank framed.
yeah, that's sitting out far enough, right?
And maybe some of those
plank
on the
frame
last street
is
that we were
what?
looking at. Basically, the whole window, like this is like would be today the casing of the window,
right.
but this is a part of the window unit, and so it
so
is
it's built
made
as
as
one.
a whole, lifted up and put into place, and then they take these drives and they're nails and nail them into the structure.
Is the
That's the peg,
peg
but
of the tenon.
they have a nail that is essentially driving straight through the entire thing into the frame of
because
the
your
building.
wall is a plank.
Yeah, so you
got a
can see
plank
it way
wall.
better from the inside. Yeah,
So
you're right.
your
That's the
wall is a plank. Okay.
Just boards stacked
Board
up,
stacked
and then
up.
you're
so
okay.
you don't have anything to nail to, and so you're attaching it to the outside face of the wall.
And so
seems
when
easy.
you look at it,
Just-
the install's got to be way
Yeah.
easier. But they're using these like big cast wrought nails, and essentially it's like secured in two places by like nothing. And so when you look at it from the interior, you're like, are we sure that's staying on? But it
what
is.
I love about it, we did this at
I wanna see it from the interior.
at that Pennsylvania farmhouse, is the windows stick out from the wall.
Yeah.
You know, what is that, 2 or 3 inches, and it has this depth and this strength that is really sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you either
Oh,
want the
wait.
windows sticking out like that or sunken in, because you talked
Right.
about flat windows. So
Right.
that's interesting.
Yeah. You're getting a lot of shadow lines with that look.
I like
Yeah.
them more protruding from the shadow line angle, but also from the water displacement angle, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's easier to shed water off of a building as a whole, especially a brick building.
Say that again?
Easier to shed water off of a building as a whole, especially a brick building, if you've got a lot of exposures that are pushed out.
This is a, I'd have to think about that. This is a neoclassical house, right? I mean, you've got the swags. It's a Victorian house, but it's told in a federal language because you've got that decoration, the swags and the urns, which are part of that federal story. But I mean, the way these bays are and the divided lights and the windows.
Look how awesome these windows are.
Yeah,
They're
notice the
curved windows.
I thought neoclassical was like, I mean, I guess it could be whatever. But like when the columns go from the floor to the roof, and there's like a porch, it doesn't have to be that.
Doesn't have to be that. And when I said neoclassical, not like that, but it's clearly with the columns and the strength and the entablature and everything else. You know.
Oh, because these are.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're
classically,
saying.
You know, inspired and you know the way they're doing that.
Neoclassicism was like the rediscovery of Rome, right? And the
Yeah, it's a confusing term. Basically, you've got neoclassical that happens because Robert Adam goes to Pompeii, sees the decoration, and decides that we've been doing decoration wrong. We go from the heavy Georgian to the neoclassical, in that federal Adam-esque style in America. Okay, that's neoclassical. Period. Okay, then you go through all the Victorian stuff and crazy looking things going on. McKee and White come along. And they are, you have Trinity Church, which is done in the kind of a medieval form, okay? And then you cross the street from the Trinity Church is the Boston Library, which is a classical building. And that's that neoclassicism I'm talking about, a reemergence of classical inspiration, classical design. You know, that at MIT and at Columbia, they basically, those campuses are a recreation of the Parthenon, our Pantheon, a recreation of all these classical buildings from antiquity. So that too is neoclassical because it too is looking back. So that's why it's like, right?
There's not like a defined era.
So that's like another colonial revival. You could say, oh, that's neoclassical.
100%.
Because anything in the U.S. is technically neoclassical because it wasn't,
that's your
from
safety.
There
There
are specific periods that it's more common, right?
Yeah.
Like because
Greek revival,
right? You have Greek revival and you have Gothic revival. I mean, that's not neoclassical. That's Gothic, right? And so there are periods of time when the Romantic period and everything else, where it's very storybook and it's not classical. So when McKee and White and those firms start doing really classical things, New York Public Library, it too is a reinterpretation of the classical. Neoclassical.
New classical. Neo means new, right?
Like today, if someone did a classical house and bastardized it, I wouldn't call that neoclassical.
Yeah.
Even though they're trying to be classical.
It's the execution.
Yeah.
So,
and I think there has to be a movement of enough things going on that you can say, that's the neoclassical era.
Well, I think also, like, just like side note, the way we're walking through this like glorious architectural heaven here, we should do this back in Texas, like through a McMansion neighborhood, and just like, just trash it. No, not trash it, but actually critique it and like say like that's why this is wrong.
I think that's funny, but I also think it would be
too hard to fix. It'd be like your commercial.
It'd be really hard, and so but we ought to try it.
Remember the Anderson commercial that you critiqued, where you're like, I can't do anything about this house. It's just eight gabled ends.
Oh, the house that's unfixable.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna give you like an aneurysm if we take you just.
The other thing I wanted to point out really quick here, you've always been the shutter guy in my mind. That was always the big thing that you pointed out. Yeah, where I'm
when
just.
You can unsee it now.
Yeah, whenever you say to people like, "What do you mean by preservation carpentry?" That's usually the easiest way you can be like, "Okay, shutters. They're wrong today." Like that's the quickest way you can just get them to go. This is what I mean by that. So I've always been confused because I'm like, how did we even get to the stage where you've got the tiny little windows being architecturally correct? This is an example of that. Those are articulating windows. So they're bifold windows. So they're folded up right now, but they're really tiny. But they will actually span across the whole window when they unfold. The shutters themselves will unfold to then cover that window. And that's where we get the precedent of those little tiny ones. Because I've always been confused by them. Like
I see what you're saying.
You know, to just take this shutter that's like this and then make it like this.
Because those look wrong right now.
Because those look wrong right now,
if you
but
fold
they're
them.
actually right whenever they bifold. But someone probably did work to. I can't tell with those windows.
I can't tell either.
It looks like they were curved originally and they're not curved now. But
they're supposed to be curved like this.
You know what's crazy? That's a gutter right there.
Yeah,
I just realized that.
There's chain gutters, rain gutters. Yeah, speaking of Gothic revival, right? You see this little parish house here.
Yeah.
Great stuff. I mean, one of my favorite towns coming in here. I mean, right? You see everything.
It is funny. I think every shot that we have so far, everyone's kind of doing this.
Yeah, we're just our head is on a swivel.
Yeah. it's fun. You guys never been here. You've been here a couple times. You've been here.
Yeah, never
me
been
being
in
here
New
a couple
England.
times. This is fun. So thanks for watching this episode. We got a lot more coming. We're gonna go to the Old North Church. Gonna go to King's Chapel and gonna hear from a couple
Got a great couple days here.
professors. So, yeah, thanks for watching the Passion for Craft podcast, and we'll see you in the next one.